On this episode of the DCeric Show, we go back to 1988 with Bubble Bobble for the Nintendo Entertainment System. When me and my brother and sister were younger, we used to spend the night over at my aunt's house. She is the type of person who likes video games like no other. She, of course, is a Nintendo fanboy, or should I say fangirl, and owns almost all Nintendo console platforms. Anytime she got a new game, she always had to show us. So one day in the early 90s, she introduced me to Bubble Bobble for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Of course, first thought of the game after seeing two cute little dragons floating on the screen was, what am I about to get into? Well, of course, anybody would think it was guided more towards children and women, but in fact, it's actually fun for everyone. Jumping around on the screen, shooting bubbles at enemies so you can bounce into them to destroy them and complete the level. Who thought of this idea? Well, Taito did, of course. This game was first released on the arcade platform, but the game has been ported to a variety of different video game systems. Some video game systems got a more arcade-perfect port of the actual game. There wasn't much differences from the NES port of the game. It only had slightly toned graphics and unlimited continues. Bubble Bobble also contained a two-player mode so you and a friend could battle 100 levels to save your princess and battle to get the highest score. The difficulty in the game can vary depending on which level you're playing. There is no selectable difficulty in the game. Some levels will contain special weapons which will help you finish the level. If you collect the letters E, X, T, E, and D after destroying enemies in a combo, you get an extra life. There is also a special item that will allow you to skip levels. The music in the game isn't too bad, but you'll more than likely be listening to the same song throughout the whole game. The sound effects in the game aren't that amazing either. You'll be hearing your character jump and shoot bubbles and destroy enemy characters. There isn't too much to offer in the sound area. The graphics in the Nintendo version aren't too bad. It's not far off from its arcade brother and shouldn't make you think any less of it. Other ports of the game are pretty identical to the arcade version and might be a bit more difficult. Bubble Bobble has been so popular and has went on to make many sequels and even spin-off puzzler games using the two cute little dragons. Puzzle Bobble is where you shoot bubbles at other bubbles of the same color to beat the level. The game has different modes of play to make the game even more enjoyable. Of course, there was another interesting one called Rainbow Islands, which is a sequel to the first game and is a little more like a platform jumping game. In this game, the main characters appear as humans instead of dragons. This game is a little different from Bubble Bobble. Instead of using bubbles to kill your enemies, you shoot rainbows over your enemy to destroy them. Each level contains a finishing point, which will have you killing enemies and jumping as fast as you can to get to the next platform, or you will drown in rising water. I really enjoyed the sequels and spin-offs to the game, but I will say that the original game is still by far the greatest Bubble Bobble game ever released. Also, there is a Bubble Bobble 2 for the NES, but have fun looking for that game and spending over $200 on eBay to get it. This game you return as the dragons and it has the same gameplay as the first game, but removes co-op multiplayer. Well, I guess I've come to the end of the show. I really enjoyed Bubble Bobble and of course the series of games that follow. You can get this game for the NES and a variety of other consoles on eBay or your local game shop. If you have the Wii, you can buy the NES version of Bubble Bobble at the Wii Store for the Virtual Console. You can find two new Bubble Bobble games to enjoy on the Xbox 360 and the Nintendo Wii. These games have a much better co-op multiplayer where you can have 3 of your friends help you to complete the game, bringing back the same old arcade fun with more multiplayer action. You can find Bubble Bobble Neo for the Xbox 360 on Xbox Live Arcade, and you can find Bubble Bobble Plus for the Wii on the Wii Store. I hope you enjoyed this episode and come back to see another game I couldn't keep my hands off of.